The first maneuver is pirouetting loops. The guide states you should have a minimum of 2 pirouettes per loop, and we have to do 4 variations, being from the left and the right, as well as pirouetting in both directions. You want to start these exactly as you pass in front of yourself. The loop should be round, have a consistent speed, and finish where they began. Also, you want a similar number of pirouettes on the way up as you do on the way down. I tend to do 6 per loop, which is 3 up to top center, and then 3 on the way down. You don't have to get them exact, but it makes it easier to hit the finish perfectly, and also it doesn't look uncontrolled with maybe 2 on the way up and 7 on the way down. It forces you to space them nicely around the loop as well, not doing 3 piros at the top as you slow down. Counting may not work for everyone, but if you can do these and you're desperate to start getting them right more often than not, it could be that one thing that fixes them for you. I have a more in-depth episode on Piro loops, so I've put that in the description below if you want to check it out later. The next maneuver is pirouetting outside loops. So the same criteria as the previous one, but we start and end inverted. These aren't that much more difficult, just different. If you've watched the pirouetting loop episode and practiced asynchronous loops, you should be just as capable at doing them as inside loops. If you have a slow helicopter or doing the loops downwind and you're not getting the height, keep the model flat for longer on entry and use collective to climb before you start turning it over. Then at the top, you don't want to stall, so you need some speed to carry over and enter the downwind section. From here, your speed is managed by finishing the loop nice and round, where the attitude of the model follows the direction, and then exiting with a slight nose down to maintain a bit of speed. This is particularly important for competitions where you need to do a further 10 meters before the maneuver is complete. A consistent exit speed is also important for when you start doing globes, and ideally each loop should start and end with a similar forward speed. It's no good if your first loop starts fast, and then the following ones are entered at half the pace. The third maneuver is a pirouetting figure of 8. As in the previous figure of 8 exercises, this starts by going past yourself, making a 5/8 circle until you come back and cross the center line at 45 degrees. Then make a 3/4 circle and cross the center line at 45 degrees, coming back the other way, before making a slight turn and exiting along the same line you entered. There are 4 variations we need to do: figure 8 forwards and backwards, and Piro directions left and right. Doing the reverse variation may seem unnecessary, but it does change the 45-degree crossovers. As in the first one, they're coming back at you, and in this one, they're traveling away as you switch from one circle to the next. You want to keep the shape, size, and speed consistent across all of these to show you have good control. There's almost no wind today, which is making it a bit easier, but practicing in the wind is a good thing. It will show your weaknesses, as you might be slow to react or not have enough mental overhead to cope with thinking ahead and predicting how the model will move around in the wind. I think Piro funnels are one of the most difficult maneuvers to do well. There are 8 versions with the options of circuit direction, Piro direction, and upright inverted, and very few people can do all of them well. Some tend to find pirouetting into the circle is easier, whereas there are a few who find that pirouetting out is their preferred method. When you're learning these, they can go wrong very quickly, and I've certainly wrecked more than a few models trying to get my head around them. And of course, if we've done upright pirouetting figure 8s, we need to do them inverted as well. Sometimes these can seem easier than upright, and I think that's probably because as 3D pilots we spend a lot of our time inverted and pirouetting. They should be done in the same way with similar shape, size, etc. This is not a hovering exercise, so you want some speed and a bit of bank to get around the circles. Pirouetting into the funnel is when the leading edge of the rotating model is turning into the circle. And pirouetting out is when the leading edge is pirouetting out. You could just call them clockwise Piro in a clockwise circuit, or counterclockwise Piro in a clockwise circuit. But that seems harder to understand, and as most pilots are better at pirouetting in, regardless of the circuit, Piro direction, or being upright inverted, it seems like a good way to distinguish between them. The crossover can be tricky as well, as it exits from one circle, levels out and maintains speed, before entering a circle in the other direction. They really need to make this an F3N set maneuver, as it tests a lot of skills in one move. Personally, I think pyrofunnels are the most difficult maneuvers to do, and I've spent huge amounts of time trying different things and ways of attacking and learning them. They can go wrong one of two ways. Either they stall and the funnel stops, or they dive into the ground with very little hope of being saved. So I have no doubt I will continue to break models while getting better at them. Next on the list is Double-Pirouetting Flips. So this is where you do 2 piros per flip, or 4 pirouettes for a full flip. This will need to be done in both piro directions, and you need to do at least 3 of them. The guide is very specific about doing 4 pirouettes, so watch the nose as I go around on this one. Out, down, in, up. Out, down, in, up. So you can see I'm trying to hit the 4 marks I've set myself to get exactly the number of pirouettes being asked for. Now we have Skids In 4-point TicTocs. You'll need to do these in both tail directions, and there have to be at least 3 complete pirouettes. Skids In TicTocs is one of those great maneuvers that will set you apart from other pilots. They take a lot of effort to learn, and most of that is brute force practice. The tail thrust causes all sorts of issues during this move, and the model will sometimes look out of shape while trying to maintain position, but as long as it doesn't actually move far off, you should score well if you ever take them into competition. This is also a really good gateway maneuver for things like vertical TicToc 8s and time warps. Number 7 is Double-Pirouetting Flips in the shape of a rectangle. So start in the center, travel left or right 10 meters, then up 10 meters or 30 feet, back 20 meters before doing the descent and returning to center. This is an interesting maneuver in that you have to maintain the oddly specific number of pirouettes per flip. I would have thought a minimum of 2 would be better, and then you can piroflip at your own preferred speed instead of trying to hit marks. Either way, it's a good exercise. There are 4 variations, with the piro direction being left and right, and also we need to do the rectangle travel in both directions. I'm a big fan of shapes. Often when you're trying to learn something, instead of hammering away at the same thing each time, try making shapes. It can be as simple as learning nose in inverted. You'll learn much faster if you move it around under control. Sometimes I think flybars were probably better at teaching people hovering because the model is unstable compared to flybarless, and you really had to work at keeping them stationary. So the way we get around the overly stable platforms we have now is to make shapes. It's also good for perspective, as a model that goes around a vertical circuit has a changing view. So although you're doing the exact same maneuver, the perspective is changing in that it goes left, up, right, and back. All of this helps when you want to start doing rotations or error correcting in the wind. You can see I'm still trying to hit the 4 piroflip marks of down, in, up, out, down, in, up, out. So I get the right number of pirouettes. You may need different marks to aim for, so that is up for you to discover what works. Pirouetting Autorotation should start at no less than 60 feet or 20 meters. You'll need to do at least 3 consecutive pirouettes on the way down and land nicely in front of you. There are 2 variations from the left and the right, and the piro direction is not specified, so you can do them either way. It's a warm day and there's almost no wind, so it's going to come down fast. I get the pirouettes out of the way and leave enough for flare and a landing. As the wind is slightly from the right and it's not my helicopter, I'm not going to do a downwind auto. I'm not at my usual field, so there's no chance I can turn around and do them the other way. So instead I'll just do the second auto with a different piro direction. We aren't looking for blinding speed Piros, as this could potentially stall the tail blades. A medium speed, consistent Piro is preferred, so you can hear what's going on. Pirouetting TicTocs blades in are the very last maneuver in this series. These are specified as 1 pirouette per TicToc, and you need to do at least 5 of them with 2 rudder directions. These are the staple of most 3D pilots, so you shouldn't have any issues holding them in place. I have a more in-depth video on doing them, so I've added them in the description in case you need help getting them right. In conclusion, it's been a heck of a ride. We've covered the 7 levels of the RCHN Pilot Proficiency program. Even for the accomplished pilots, I bet you found a few weaknesses and untried maneuvers in there. I put links in the description for all the documents and videos mentioned, so it's up to you from here. In terms of what's next, I plan on covering other learning programs and continuing with in-depth how-tos on specific maneuvers, so subscribe to get new content as it comes out. Thanks for watching. Until next time.